So does Cabasse kick ass? I hope so.
Welcome to Hi-Fi. I'm Marcos, this is Kurt, and today we're looking at the Cabasse Antigua bookshelf speakers.
Many of you guys know Cabasse is not really that popular here in North America, but I was actually quite excited to see it, and when they had asked us to do a review on it, I am quite excited.
At first glance, the new Cabasse Antigua is a three-way bookshelf speaker featuring a coaxial mid-range and tweeter. It has a 6.7-inch woofer. It features 88 decibel sensitivity at 8 ohms with a minimum impedance of 3.8 ohms. They're also rated at 75 to all the way up to 550 watts of power.
And 550 watts, I think that's ILS power. So at $1,100 Canadian, roughly, it brings that to about $850, $900 American. The speaker did a really good job, and I think it's really clever what they did to make it look a little bit more premium. They put this kind of metal front end, and by putting this, kind of the shiny bits and stuff from a distance, it definitely looks premium. By removing the grill, I noticed what they did is they added this silver ring around it. So even when you put the grill on, it really shines through, again, adding a little bit of bling and jewelry to the speaker itself.
Another thing I found that stood out with the Antigua speaker is the amount of finishes it comes in. It comes in 6 different finishes. And the other cool part is I like how the cabinet is a little bit tapered in the back here. Only find that upon close inspection, you start to see that it's more of a budget conscious speaker in terms of finishing. But like Kurt said, from a distance, it's pretty nice. When it came to setting up the Cabasse Antiguas in any listening room, the manual actually recommends them to be no closer than 5 feet together, so 5 feet apart. And you want to keep that equilateral triangle rule in mind when you do set them up. When it comes to towing them in, they say to aim them more to your ears, but the manual isn't very precise on how to set them up, just some nice general rules. Now, the general guidelines are pretty good just to get them up and going, but if you really want to fine tune it, check out our videos below. We actually shot a few videos that really jumps into detail on how to fine tune your speaker setup.
I think just to add on the setup from the manual, from that equilateral triangle that they wanted to do, we've really felt that at least 10 to 20% more than that equilateral triangle from your listening position was ideal for this speaker.
Overall, I found the Cabasse Antigua is a very impressive speaker at its price point. I found it had really nice large presence to it. It was nice and detailed. And yeah, at its price point, I was pretty impressed.
For me, I found that the top end was a little bit, it was a little bit more, let's say, live on the top end. And the mids were a little bit light. It's still, for a lot of people, they're going to love that presentation in the speaker.
When it came to our classic dB test, the Cabasse Antigua playing around 65 decibels, around normal conversation level. That lively top end really helped it, I found. You could really hear everything that was going on, even at lower volume levels, which will really help it in both music and home theater as well.
At louder listening volumes at right around 85 dBs, I think that's really kind of where its limits if you're going to run it continuously at that level. I also found that with that little bit more presence in the top end, depends on the song, it can start sounding a little bit sharp and something might come across a little bit fatiguing at louder levels. We really reached a peak at about 89 dBs, so which is excellent if you're thinking about the physical size of it, but that really would be sustained at short term.
When it came to listening to the Cabasse Antigua speakers, we listened to a pretty wide variety of music. But of course, it's Stampede here in Calgary, Alberta, so we had to listen to some country music as well. The first song that stood out for us, that really got us into the Stampede spirit, Paul Brandt, Alberta Bound. I mean,
Yeah,
this is a... What?
I was gonna say that doesn't get more Stampede and Alberta than that.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing got me more excited to take my cowboy boots out of the closet than this song. Listening to this song, I found the bass presence of the Antigua bookshelves were pretty amazing. You really felt the mid-bass impact from the drums in your chest. I found it was pretty nice and easy to follow the whole band and really distinguish all the instruments as well. So it was a pretty good listen.
So that track does have a bit of dynamic compression, but a lot of songs do. And on a speaker like this, because the top end is a little bit heightened, it can be a little fatiguing, specifically on tracks that are like that. The bass, I would say, on the kick drum was actually pretty impressive, because in terms of sound staging, or actually imaging, it was able to, I can tell exactly where it was located, which is harder to do on lower frequencies. I was glad to listen to this track. It's because I was lucky enough many years ago to actually have backstage passes, and we got to listen to the sound check from Paul Brandt and meet and chat with him backstage.
The second song we listened to is a nice, relaxed contemporary jazz song by E. Lundquist. It's a brand new album. The song was called Nina's Theme. I really like this song. It's just really nice and laid back. And the speakers, I found, did a really good job portraying all the imaging and staging effects happening in the song. And I found the bass was again something that really stood out with these speakers for sure.
What impressed me in this is the overall coherency of the stage, especially when you're doing a lot of sometimes contemporary jazz, there's a lot of synthesized sounds. The more coherent the speaker is, I would say, the more it seems to kind of fill the space that they're trying to do. Even the imaging, the soundstage. On this one part, they had a synthesized harp, and it was coming in almost like a triangle, or like that Nike swoop was coming in from the back, kind of curved in, and you can really picturing it through that effect that they wanted to do in the recording. So, excellent job on that part. I don't think we need to go over the measurements too much in this case. As you can see, really from what we heard through the music, it matched a lot of the stuff that we found in the speakers. So, I would say the top end, again, it's got a little bit more open on top. In the mids, it was slightly a bit recessed in certain parts, and again had a good strong overall bass prominence, and measured quite well in that region, and went a lot lower than I thought for a bookshelf. Yeah, for a bookshelf speaker.
So when comparing these to our PMC speakers, the Antigua really matched what we heard in our listening sessions as well when it comes to its frequency response. When it came to comparing the Cabasse Antigua speakers, the first speaker that came to mind to me would be the Klipsch 600M series speaker. To me, the Cabasse definitely wins out on coherence between the drivers. The mid-range and the upper end is very coherent on the Cabasse. But if you do like that a little bit livelier sound and a little bit higher efficient speaker, the Klipsch would be maybe a better choice.
The second speaker that we're going to compare it to is the 806 Cora speakers by Focal. And I would think overall this is, they're both French. Yeah. And they like that, I say, more, not so bright, but livelier top end. And you can hear that between the similarities between that. I would say the Focal is a little bit more, sounds a little bit quicker on the top end, and quite a bit more, I would say, air than the Cabasse speakers does. But also remember, there's about a $200 difference, which is really almost 20% difference between the two. One thing that I think really sets it apart in terms of the Cabasse is the bass. I think the bass does have the edge over the Focal, quality-wise the same, but with the Cabasse, it goes that little bit deeper, and it feels like there's just a little bit more bottom end when it needs to be there on this.
At $1,100 Canadian, there are so many options in this price range. And as always, our best tip is just give them a listen, see what you think. When it comes to bringing the Cabasse Antiguas to your home, we recommend them in a small to medium room, or you can also use them in a home theater application with their tower speakers and their subwoofer and center channel as well.
So if you want to keep everything, I guess, French and that kind of signature sound that they go for, I would say the IN50 from Atoll would be an excellent match to this. And like with so many options in this price category, there's a lot of options in amplifiers as well. So we have the CX61 or 81 is going to match really well. NAD, anything from a 368 to the 388 or the 399. You know, the list goes long. There's Audiolab. There's also who else is in there in that kind of range? There's just too many in that price range. You know, I can see a lot of speakers are going to match well with this, and then it's just up to you to see what combination you like the best, because this, at the end, this speaker and all those amplifiers can drive this with ease. And the same thing goes for home theater. You know, because the speaker is so easy to drive, you know, a lot of home theater amps are gonna really drive it easily. If you want something that's gonna produce also music quite well, I would recommend either going with the any of the products from NAD or Arcam's, some of Arcam's newest home theater receivers.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.